The Torah declares that abundance has already been prepared for you even before you were born. But most people spend their lives asking for what has already been given, and that request, made in the wrong way, may be blocking exactly what is waiting for you. Stop everything right now. Turn off the notifications, because what I'm going to share today may be the most important thing you've heard about your financial situation. Not because it's a magic formula, but because it's a truth that has been right in front of your eyes, in a text that you may already know by heart and that has never been explained this way. There is a mistake that almost everyone makes when carrying the weight of debt and seeking spiritual help. It is not a mistake of faith. The faith of these people is genuine. The problem has never been the amount of faith. It has been its direction. Most pray like this: Lord, send money. Lord, open a door. This is completely human and legitimate. Because Kabbalah teaches a fundamental difference between asking for what you need and opening the channel through which it can come. They are two different spiritual acts. One asks, the other opens. Today I will show you a psalm, one of the most well-known in the world, and reveal a hidden Kabbalistic principle within it about debt, scarcity, and the channel of prosperity that may be closed within you. And I will teach you a 3-day practice that has the power to reorganize something deep in your relationship with money. Let me tell you a story. In my family's tradition, it is said that my great-grandfather, whom we called Reb Nachman, landed in this country around the 1920s, coming from Eastern Europe. He arrived with an almost empty suitcase. He did not speak the language. He had no capital, but he carried something that no customs can confiscate: a teaching on how to relate to the eternal when scarcity seems to be the only reality. In the first weeks, when the situation was tougher, Reb Nachman would wake up before dawn, while the city was still asleep, and read the same psalm for 3 consecutive days. Not to ask, not to negotiate with God, not to try to convince heaven that he deserved help, but to remember. To remember who he was. To remember what was written about him. To remember that the scarcity around him was not the final truth about his life. Years later, that immigrant who arrived with nothing had built a stable life, a united family, and, more importantly, a peace with money that most never find. When asked the secret, he replied, "I never treated debt as my identity. I treated it as a temporary condition that had not yet received the right light. A temporary condition that had not yet received the right light." Today I will show you the psalm that Reb Nachman read, and I will teach you to read the same way, with eyes that see beyond the words. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. And tell me in the comments, are you carrying any debt? A simple yes already helps me know that this teaching is reaching those who need it. You will discover 3 things. First, why Psalm 23 contains a specific Kabbalistic principle about the blockage of parnasa, material and spiritual sustenance. Second, how the wrong way of reading this psalm transforms a practice of immense depth into something empty. Third, the practice of 3 days, step by step. I need to explain something fundamental to you. Tehillim, the Hebrew name for the Psalms, comes from the root hallel, praise. It is not a coincidence that the most used book in difficulty is one of praise. In Kabbalah, there is a central concept, shefa, the divine flow that continuously descends from above to the material world. This flow does not stop. The problem is never in the source. It is in the channels. Imagine a water pipe with full pressure on the other side. The water is there. But if the pipe is clogged, due to inherited scarcity beliefs, unresolved grievances with money, or a pattern of never enough carried through generations, the water does not flow. Praying for more water when the pipe is clogged does not solve the issue. What solves it is unclogging the channel. And that is what the Tehillim do when read with understanding. They are not a list of requests. They are ancestral instruments for channel cleansing. Why Psalm 23 specifically for those carrying debt? In Hebrew, Adonai Roy, Lo Echsar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I need to tell you something about this phrase. It is not a request. It is not hope. It is not a disguised plea. It is a declaration of present reality. Lo Echsar is in the present tense. I lack nothing. Now, when you read this psalm in debt and think, but everything is lacking, this is not true for me, you are reading with the eyes of material reality, and if excluding from the declaration. Kabbalah teaches the principle of dibur, the word as a creative expression. Dibur not only describes reality, it creates reality. When you pronounce a spiritual truth with emunah, genuine faith, you are planting at the deepest level what will still manifest. Reb Nachman understood this. That's why he read the psalm even when the fridge was almost empty. First revelation, the shepherd and the identity block. Adonai Roy. The word Roy comes from a root with two meanings, to shepherd and to see. David declared two things, the Eternal leads me and the Eternal sees me. One of the greatest pains of those who carry debts is not just the lack of money. It is the feeling of invisibility, that no one is seeing, that your problem is too small for the universe to care, or too big to have a solution. Adonai Roy destroys this belief at the root. Every sleepless night calculating bills has been seen. Every moment of shame has been seen. Every time you smiled saying that everything was fine while inside you were crumbling, it was seen. Kabbalah speaks of Hester Panim, the concealment of the divine face. In the most difficult moments, it seems that God has turned his back. But the concealment is not abandonment. It requires a different response, not to wait to feel in order to declare, but to declare in order to begin to feel. This is emunah in action. And here is the blockage that debt creates. It becomes identity. The person stops seeing themselves as someone in a temporary difficulty and becomes the indebted one, the one who can't. This silent shift is devastating because how you see yourself determines the decisions you make and the opportunities you recognize. Adonai Roy is spiritual resistance against this blockage. You are saying, my financial condition does not define who I am. Second revelation, the green pastures and rest in the midst of crisis. He makes me lie down in green pastures. The key word is yarbitzeni, to make lie down, not gives me pastures. Do not promise pastures in the future. Make me rest. Those who are in debt cannot rest. There is a constant agitation. How will I pay? When will it be resolved? What will they think? This agitation has a spiritual effect that Kabbalah calls machsum, a barrier in the channel. The panicked mind becomes restricted to the problem, losing the ability to recognize opportunities and paths around. Most financial exits do not happen through an instant miracle. They happen through better decisions made with clarity over time. And clarity is exactly what panic destroys. The psalm declares that the righteous can rest, even when the situation has not yet changed. Not out of naivety, but out of bitachon. Bitachon is different from emunah. Emunah is belief, the conviction that God exists and acts. Bitachon is active trust, a functional, practical, lived state of resting in divine providence, even when circumstances have not yet confirmed what you believe. It is the real capacity to breathe, think clearly, make good decisions, not after everything is resolved, but while the solution is still on its way. Reb Nachman said, "The solution was already created before the problem existed. My job is to be quiet enough to recognize it when it appears. Being quiet enough. In the midst of debts, in the midst of overdue bills, in the midst of the pressure from creditors. It seems impossible, and that is exactly why it is a high-level spiritual practice. A pattern that appears regularly. People who develop bitachon generally make better decisions than when in a constant state of emergency. They see opportunities where they previously only saw threats. They have conversations they once avoided out of shame, and those conversations open paths. Clarity is not a spiritual luxury. It is a practical condition for finding a way out. Third revelation, the valley of the shadow and emotional debt. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. The Kabbalists observe something fascinating in the word tzalmavet, shadow of death. Tzel means shadow, and a shadow only exists when there is light on the other side. The darkest valley is called a shadow, because it implies that light exists. It is hidden by the angle at which you find yourself, but it is there. The psalm does not promise to avoid the valley. It says, Ki ata imadi, you are with me. Here, in this difficult place. in this counting that doesn't close, in this fear of 3 in the morning. The emotional debt, the shame, the narrative of, I have failed as a provider, I am not capable, I have shamed my family, I made wrong choices, and now I am paying, sometimes weighs more than the financial. It is the cruel judgment that a person makes of themselves, which goes far beyond the number on the statement. And it specifically blocks the shefa. Shame makes a person hide, and those who are hidden do not receive. The tradition calls the process of working on this teshuvah, which is not repentance as punishment, but returning to oneself. And within teshuvah, there is heshbon hanefesh, inventory of the soul. Honestly looking at the patterns that contributed to the situation, not to destroy oneself with guilt, but to understand and transform at the root. Because people who resolve the debt without examining the internal patterns often end up creating debt again. The roots have never been touched. The Valley of Shadow is the place where Cheshbon HaNefesh happens. It is in the most difficult moment that a person has the real opportunity to look within and ask the questions that matter. Now the practice of 3 days. You don't need special material. Just you, silence, and the willingness to be present. Optionally, a white candle. In tradition, it represents the neshama, the inner flame that remains lit even when everything seems dark. Step 1. The preparation. Wash your hands before starting. In Jewish tradition, netilat yadayim is a conscious act of transitioning states. While washing, say, I am preparing to receive. I am opening my channel. I am ready to be seen. Step 2. The kavana. Declare your intention aloud. Eternal. I read this psalm not to ask, but to remember who I am, to open within me the channel through which your abundance can flow. Step 3. The slow reading. Read Psalm 23 verse by verse with intentional pauses. The Lord is my shepherd. Pause. Close your eyes for 2 seconds. Feel what it means to be seen, to be led, to not be alone. I shall not want. Declare softly, this is written about me. Even if the situation seems to contradict, especially if it seems to contradict, this is the Dibur. He makes me lie down in green pastures. 30 seconds of intentional rest, hand on chest, 3 breaths. Let the body release tension. Lead me to still waters, refresh my soul. The weary soul can be refreshed. The fatigue of this situation is not forever. Guide me along the paths of righteousness. Do not ask for the specific solution. Ask for the ability to recognize it. Give me eyes to see the way when it presents itself. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow, acknowledge where you are without denial. Eternal, I am in the valley, and it is written that you are with me. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. The rod guides, the staff protects. I have guidance and I have protection. You prepare a table in the presence of my adversaries. The adversaries are the bills, the fear, the shame. The table is prepared in the presence of all this, not afterward. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. There is a dignity that the Eternal places upon you. The financial crisis does not take it away. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Hesed does not wait for you to deserve it. It is pursuing you now, even if you are not feeling it. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is your ultimate identity. Not a debtor, not indebted. Someone who dwells in the house of the Eternal. Step 4. Writing. After reading, write one identity statement. I am someone who is seen and led. The channel of abundance in me is opening. Keep the paper. Reread before each subsequent session. Step 5. Anticipated gratitude. End with, thank you for being with me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for the channel that is opening. The 3 days and their focuses. Day 1. Recognition. Focus on Adonai Roy. I am seen. Coming out of the isolation that debt creates. Day 2. Rest. Focus on He makes me lie down, practicing bitachon throughout the day. When anxiety arises, the solution does not depend on my panic. Day 3. Declaration and inventory. Focus on I shall not want. Do the cheshbon hanefesh. What pattern in me contributed to this situation? What concrete decision can I make today to start changing? In the Jewish tradition, 3 days represents chazaka, firmness. An action done once is an incident, twice a coincidence, 3 times an established pattern. Resistance will show up, especially from the second day onward. It will disguise itself in convincing forms.
Like forgetfulness. I didn't have time today, I'll do 2 days tomorrow.
Like skepticism. I'm not feeling anything different. Like urgency. I have more important problems. The tradition calls it Yetzer Hara, the impulse that prefers the familiar to the unknown, even when the familiar is suffering. The answer is not to destroy it. I'm noticing resistance. This means I'm reaching a point of real transformation. I will continue. It may be that at the end of the 3 days, the debt is still there with the same numbers. This does not mean that the practice has failed. Internal transformation precedes external, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. Whoever gives up on the 3rd day will never know what was beginning to grow. Complete the 3 days before evaluating. If you want to continue, 7 days is the complete creation cycle. 21 is solidification. 40 is deep transformation.
If you practice and notice something, a different decision, clarity, a morning with less weight on your chest, come back and share in the comments. These accounts help others in the same situation stay committed. Recapping. The Tehillim are not lists of requests. They are instruments for channel cleansing. The 3 revelations. Adonai Roy. You are seen. The debt is not your identity. He makes me lie down. Bitachon is acting with clarity before the solution arrives. The valley of shadow. Chesed accompanies you in difficulty, and it is there that the soul's inventory takes place. Jewish tradition has a concept called Mishkan, dwelling, the place where the divine presence resides. The biblical Mishkan was built in the desert, in the place of greatest aridity. The divine presence did not wait for a garden. It dwelled in the desert. Your financial desert is a legitimate place for the eternal to inhabit. There is no need to wait to leave it to seek the presence. The presence is already there. Yevarechicha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the eternal bless you and keep you. May the blessing reach your home, your work, your hands. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May he make his face shine upon you. May grace open doors that seemed closed. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May he grant you peace. May the debt you carry find today the light it needs to begin to dissolve. Not just the financial, but the emotional, the shame, the weight of beliefs that were never yours. May the channels within you open to the shefa that has never stopped flowing. May the table be prepared before you, in the presence of your adversaries, not after they are gone. May chesed, the loving kindness that does not depend on your merit, pursue you every day, as it is written, Ken yehi ratzon. So be it. Amen. Shemacha. In the next video, the difference between Parnasa Kala and Parnasa Kashe,
The light sustenance and the heavy sustenance. Why some people prosper easily, while others work twice as hard for the same result. It is not luck. It is a specific spiritual dynamic. Subscribe, activate the bell, and share with someone carrying the weight of a debt. Sometimes the greatest help is to say, I found something that can help you. May the Eternal guard each of your steps. Shalom.